When you insist that your holy book came directly from God, it does things to you. It leads to related beliefs which I can never accept. For example, it often leads to the idea that your own beliefs are part of God's grand plan, and that any dissent is therefore anti-God. On a national level, this can make it very difficult to separate church and state. After all, doesn't an all-knowing God have a fairer and more compassionate plan for running the world than parliaments of mere mortals? The infallible divinity of the Quran also gives us the notion of apostasy. Muslims are always considered to be believers, and in some countries it is illegal simply to change your mind about Islam. Many cries for social change, especially in the status of women, are often seen as going against God. Allah has apparently created the sexes as different but equal. Men must offer women shelter from harm, whether they want it or not. Protection can become repression. Seeing the Quran as inerrant also makes it more difficult to accept even well-established modern ideas if they go against the Holy Book. Most people in the so-called Christian world no longer see God's hand in every uncaused act, such as natural disasters. Most Muslims do. A depressingly small number of Muslims accept evolution, and many of those who do make futile attempts to prove that the Quran knew about it all along. All this is peaceful extremism. Seeing the Quran as divine also tends to destroy any ability to laugh at one's faith. Christian leaders have had to get used to being regarded as buffoons because they fortunately no longer have the influence or the respect to prevent such ridicule. We must preserve the right to mock people and ideas in, among other things, politics, culture, and religion. Serious, pious men, acting not only as mullahs and imams but also as husbands and fathers, have too much control in the Muslim world. They complain that the West is in some kind of war with Islam. This really means that any reasonable move to free people from tyranny of belief gnaws away at their own power. Uncompromising believers in any holy book tend to divide humanity glibly into two groups. In effect, these are the saved and the damned, although many of the faithful use softer language. When this notion is combined with a lingering belief in a real serene heaven and a sizzling hell, it can become a lethal mix. In a small number of the faithful, I'm right, you're wrong, turns to God and I are right, you're dead. Recently, I saw an interview on TV with a young Afghan would-be suicide bomber. He had been all wired up and ready to do his work, but backed out at the last minute because he saw that he had been misled. Most of the intended victims around him were not infidels, but fellow Muslims. Now, happy though I am that he changed his mind, his reasoning was ethically warped. He clearly meant that if the victims had not been Muslims, the attack would have been justified, purely on that basis. I shudder at such absence of common humanity, at the implied notion that a set of ancient ideas matters more than real people. All the indoctrinator's requirements were satisfied in this young man. A sense of grievance and humiliation at the supposed victimization of Islam, a certainty that he really would meet 72 immaculate virgins in paradise, and most likely a conviction that God knows his own. In other words, that Allah would send to heaven any who were deserving among the people who died. The only setback was that the victims were us, not them.